Here's a harsh reality that ESPN executives probably don't want to face. One of their most talented analysts has become a liability that's spiraling out of control. Ryan Clark's transformation from celebrated sports broadcaster to controversy magnate represents one of the most dramatic falls from grace in recent sports media history. But here's where it gets controversial. Should a network really sideline someone who was once considered among their elite talent? Let's rewind to understand just how far Clark has fallen. This is the same individual who dominated at Louisiana State University during his college years, later achieving the ultimate prize in professional football by capturing a Super Bowl championship alongside the Pittsburgh Steelers. When ESPN brought him aboard in 2015, industry insiders immediately recognized his potential to become a premier studio personality. Clark possessed what broadcasting executives dream of finding, a complete package that seemed destined for stardom. His analytical depth was matched by infectious enthusiasm, creating genuine chemistry with both studio partners and home audiences. Every appearance elevated the viewing experience, demonstrating why he eventually earned the prestigious Sports Emmy Award for Outstanding Studio Analyst in 2023. But here's the part most people miss. Success can sometimes plant the seeds of its own destruction. The year 2025 has witnessed Clark's reputation crumble through a series of self-inflicted wounds that have replaced his hard-earned goodwill with scandal, personal attacks, and deeply troubling on-air behavior toward colleagues. The first major explosion came through an absolutely toxic confrontation with former ESPN personality Robert Griffin III, sparked by commentary surrounding Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. What should have remained a professional disagreement devolved into something far more sinister when Clark decided to weaponize Griffin's personal life. In a move that stunned industry observers, Clark attacked Griffin's credibility regarding Reese by bringing up his interracial marriage, a breathtakingly inappropriate line of criticism that crossed every conceivable boundary of professional conduct. The situation became even more bizarre when Clark attempted to justify his position by revealing details about his own biracial daughter, turning what was already a professional disaster into a soap opera-level spectacle. The aftermath required Clark to issue public apologies to both Griffin's wife and his own family members, acknowledging the embarrassment his behavior had caused. In a particularly telling social media post, Clark admitted he hadn't realized how much his family had been defending him and dealing with the consequences of his actions. Unfortunately, this episode would prove to be just the beginning of Clark's 2025 troubles. And this is the part that should terrify ESPN leadership. The pattern was far from over. Just recently, Clark launched an unprovoked attack against new ESPN colleague Peter Schrager during a live broadcast. Without any apparent justification, Clark chose to belittle Schrager's analysis of the Eagles-Cowboys matchup, dismissing his insights solely because Schrager never played professional football. The attack was particularly damaging because it occurred in front of a national television audience, undermining the colleague's credibility for no legitimate reason. But here's where Clark's logic completely falls apart. He regularly appears on NFL Live alongside Mina Kimes, another highly respected analyst, who never played professionally. How does Clark reconcile attacking Schrager for the same background that makes Kimes one of ESPN's most valuable voices? The inconsistency reveals either stunning hypocrisy or a troubling lack of self-awareness. While the sports media community rallied around Schrager, Clark found himself issuing yet another public apology. This time, however, the apology came not through a carefully produced video, but via hastily typed tweets during his live coverage of a Chiefs-Chargers game, suggesting the damage control was more reactive than thoughtful. Clark's ambitions extend well beyond traditional sports analysis. He's building a multimedia empire through the Pivot podcast, exploring cultural and political topics while hosting Inside the NFL and developing his personal brand with custom lapel pins and carefully crafted public appearances. These aspirations aren't inherently problematic, but they raise questions about whether his focus has shifted away from the excellence that originally made him valuable. The concerning pattern extends beyond personal conflicts into questionable analytical takes that contradict basic football knowledge. Clark recently argued that the three most statistically dominant quarterbacks in NFL history somehow don't qualify as generational talents without providing any coherent definition of what that term actually means. These kinds of contrarian positions feel more designed to generate attention than provide genuine insight. So here's the uncomfortable question ESPN must confront. At what point does talent become overshadowed by distraction? Any NFL organization facing this situation would make the obvious move: bench the player until they can refocus on their primary responsibilities. ESPN has numerous capable football analysts who could seamlessly fill Clark's roles on Get Up, First Take, NFL Live, and SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt, without creating workplace drama or public relations nightmares. If the network wants to avoid completely severing ties, they could reassign Clark to less prominent SportsCenter segments during off-peak hours, creating a cooling-off period that allows him to demonstrate renewed professionalism away from high-profile programming. The tragedy in this situation is that Clark clearly possesses the intelligence and analytical skills that originally made him successful. The question becomes whether he's willing to examine his recent behavior and decide if this cycle of controversy and damage control represents the career path he truly wants to pursue. But here's what makes this story even more controversial. Should networks prioritize talent over workplace harmony? Are we witnessing the natural evolution of sports media personalities who feel pressure to create content across multiple platforms? Or is this simply a case of success going to someone's head? Ryan Clark stands at a crossroads that will define the remainder of his broadcasting career. He can either return to being the elite football analyst and television personality that earned him industry recognition, or he can continue down this destructive path that threatens to overshadow all his previous accomplishments. The choice is entirely his, but ESPN shouldn't wait much longer to see which direction he chooses. What's your take on this situation? Should networks tolerate controversial behavior from talented personalities? Or does workplace professionalism trump individual star power? Are we being too harsh on Clark? Or has he crossed lines that can't be uncrossed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This debate is far from settled.